नरेश बहुत नर्वस हो गया, बोलता मैडम मैं अभी नहीं देता। मैंने बोला ऐसा मत कर। Hello. I'm very sorry for this all technical problem, but Dr. Naresh is starting now.
Hello. Yeah, there were clueless some technical issues, so that we are not able to do that. But anyhow, somehow it was started off. Now let's start the session. Hope all the audience are in online. Yes, now my presentation talk would be on. My presentation talk will be on importance of modeling and simulations in the microfluidics and lab on a chip. Coming to contents of my topic, since simulations are widespread now and in every domain, be it in aerodynamics or anywhere, electronics industry. Now I'll speak about the essence of simulations in microfluidics design and what are the various tools or software packages available for this microfluidic simulations. And I'll brief about what are the various science and methods which are running the software packages, so that we have to know what is the science and mathematics running behind the software packages. And next I'll introduce about the OpenFOAM. It is one of the best open source software people are using across academics and industry in wide way. And right now this OpenFOAM is being used for microfluidics as well. It has been started, and OpenFOAM, for any individual who cannot afford to get a license of this commercial softwares, he can go about it. And just to give a brief motivation about the OpenFOAM, how it works, I'll simulate this cylindrical microchannel in OpenFOAM. A simple cylindrical microchannel, what are the various strategies to simulate a microchannel, a simple microchannel, I'll demonstrate. And now coming to the first slide, slide of the talk, simulations, essence of simulations in the microfluidic design. And we all know that if I describe simulation in a simple way, in a simple language, simulations are just an imitation of a process or a function using the mathematics, of course, computers and science. This is just a simple understanding, and these simulations are emerging as a day-to-day tool and taking its next place to experimental development and mathematical theory as a way to new discoveries in science and engineering. Yes, we have to acknowledge this statement. Yes, because as I told, simulations are widespread in every domain, be it electronics, whatever, automotives, aerodynamics, marine engineering, even oil excavations and all. So simulations are running widespread and they are playing a very important role before going for any conclusions to go about any fabrication, to go about any understanding of the real science, what is really happening. Now, microfluidics is also not an exception, and long back the simulations were being used to design the microfluidic devices. Now, these computer simulations for microfluidic devices significantly improve the design process. As you know, these microfluidic devices are very small in structures, ranging in millimeters to micrometers. And to visualize the fluid flow inside, and whatever the sophisticated tools we have, like high magnified cameras, microscopes, whatever, but we cannot visualize it clearly. Even though we put fluorescent beads and all, that cannot be visualized properly. We cannot make out exactly how fluid is behaving inside the small channels. So that's the reason these simulations will play a great role in understanding how exactly the fluid streams are flowing inside the wall, inside the structures, microstructures, how they are interacting. And also we come to know how different fields like electric field, magnetic field, and other fields are interacting with the fluid. So that simulations are providing a great advantage to understand the microfluidic devices, and that too microfluidic devices have come in a we can fabricate in a simple way, and in a very tangible methods have come with very small polymers like polydimethyl siloxane and PMMA. With that, we can able to have very simple channels economically, and with simulations in hand, you can understand what is happening. And simulations packages are very packages right now individual cannot organize, cannot able to offer. But I'm introducing an open form software, which all very much, I think many of you are aware, but to the microfluidics domain, many people are not aware of doing the simulations with open form with microfluidics. So now these simulations have become an essential tool to develop. It will minimize the development time, cost, and also help the designers get from concept to prototype quickly and efficiently. So to emphasize this statement, I just had an example of a typical lab on a chip. Here you see the typical lab on a chip where you have got so many mixers, reservoirs, heaters, and many complex tools are there. But here I have to tell you that the simulations cannot, whatever the software packages which I will be discussing henceforth, that they will not be simulating all the total lab on a chip. Only we can able to simulate a part of a lab on a chip, like a micro mixers, like a heater dynamic, heater influence on a fluid, or a magnetic field influence on a fluid. That we can do. We can do a part-wise simulations of a lab on a chip component, and we can go about it. And here for example, to define you, I've given you two passive micro mixers. Here, these passive micro mixers are very essential for any lab on a chip, because mixing of fluids is very common in everything. In every lab on a chip process, for any electrical process, we have to mix two fluids and we get a third liquid C. So from that we take a head for suppose this chip is there, we'll do the task of the genetic analysis or DNA analysis. So these passive micromixers or active micromixers are the important component of any lab on a chip. These passive micromixers, what you see, so with help of simulations, we come to know how many repetitive patterns are required to exactly get a complete mixed liquid from two liquids. Suppose these are two mixed liquids are there. One is red, and on the end, what is a complete mixed liquid we get after having n number of tons. So with simulations, we can evaluate what number of repetitive patterns are required, what number of serpentine required to exactly have a mixing of two liquids. These micromixers play a great role in the lab on a chip, any lab on a chip for any application. So considering the simulations advantage, considering the simulations providing a great boom for to fabricate any lab on a chip, complex lab on a chip device, simulations will provide the best features. And right now I said we cannot have a total simulation of a lab on a chip. We can have a parts by parts, like passive micromixers, one part, another, what is the influence of a heater on a fluid in a microchannel, what is the influence of an electric field on a fluid, that we can simulate individually, and we can combine all the results and take a look at the microfluidic lab on a chip function. So next I'll introduce what are all the different software packages which are available. There are many, but these are very leading softwares which I want to introduce you. Maybe I think many of you are aware of this kind of softwares. This is ANSYS Fluent software, and which is very leading software right now. It has got many capabilities of doing simulations, computational fluid dynamics simulations. Of course, microfluidic structures we can design, we can simulate, and we can visualize what is happening in the channel. And this Fluent has also got some multiphysics capabilities, like it has got good electric field. We can multiphysics capabilities enable us to know how the fluid is behaving under different fields. Suppose if we want to see how the fluid is behaving under electric field, how polarization is happening between the ions in the presence of electric field, that you can evaluate. These simulations are providing great understanding. And these simulations work with the finite volume method. I will be describing about what is the backbone of all these software packages, finite volume method and finite element method. But most of the software which I am describing here, most of them use the finite volume method, and COMSOL Multiphysics is the only one which is implementing finite element method for their simulations. And this COMSOL Multiphysics is also one of the leading software doing all the kind of simulations like digital microfluidics, and so much of other stuff like understanding the fluid in the presence of any other field, fluid interactions with the field, fluid interaction, the structure, that all can be done. a COMSOL multiphysics, but it is implementing a finite element method. Still, there is a debate still running on what is FEM is better for a simulations, fluid flow simulations, or FEM is better. That we left to the time when it will tell exactly when what exactly is the revealing. But FEM has got good advantages. Has got good advantage in some sense, but FEM has got good advantage in some sense. But mostly the audience, mostly the technical scientific researchers are all using the FEM method for their simulations. Now this is the OpenFOAM, which I will be talking exclusively in the last slides. Then OpenFOAM software is an open source. This OpenFOAM is an open source software released by OpenCFD organization, and which have released under general public license. We can simulate any of this. It has got all the capabilities, what all the commercial packages are do, but only thing is you have to write a code in the C++ language. That coding abilities, if you improve, then you are at your peak. You can demonstrate any kind of fluid flow in any structure by taking this OpenFOAM, and it is free and it is open, so you can just download the softwares from the different organizations. They are providing, and many tutorials are also available to motivate you how to go about any simulation of any structure that I will be discussing anyway. The Flow3D is also one of the best softwares. Right now it has come very recently and it has captured a good ground. And this Flow3D is employing it's got a good capability of open surface problems, free surface problems it can simulate. A Star CCM Plus is also one of the same softwares executing the same operations of same simulation, just like ANSYS Fluent and COMSOL, but they are very limited to only some CFD. Okay, all these softwares which will provide under the branch of computational fluid dynamics for doing any microfluidic simulations. This CHAM, CHAM, Singularity in Engineering LLC, and QuickerSim. These all three are the consultants. If you want to have, suppose you are an industry, if you want to have your geometry simulated before going a fabrication, these are the good consultants where you can provide the design for them, your idea to them. They will simulate and interpret the results for you and provide the results, so that it will easy for you to judge to go ahead for a fabrication or not. So these are the good, because microfluidics has got very good potential, and right now ongoing this session we are acutely facing so much of problems because of this medical issue, and we are not able to come up with the medicines very fast when any trauma happens, when any some virus comes up. So in this way, these simulations are also helpful, and microfluidics is coming in a great way in the to come. And what all this service providers will do the job. And Expresso is also the open source software, Stanford, but is only limited to electrophoretic microfluidic simulations. Okay. Hope I've just given a brief about all the softwares, which may be clear for you, but you can have any evaluation versions. If you want to really know what capabilities they have, we can go for ANSYS and you can request an evaluation version for 1 month, and you can see this capabilities and see it is serving your job or not. Okay. And depending on the cost and affordability, what you can go. Next, what I told is what all these softwares I discussed in the previous slide. They are implementing the finite volume method, finite element methods. These are the only two methods which are widely implemented. And other method is lattice Boltzmann method is there, but right now it is being not used that widely. And this finite volume method and finite element method are widely implemented in all the software packages. Okay, this I will speak about the FEM since it's an old topic, old method which has come in 1950s. Which is this finite element method initialized to study the airframe structures initially, that is structure interactions. And now over the time, this FEM has been developed and implemented on various problems in continuum mechanics or fluid flow problems. That is, it can solve all the fluid flow problems like CFD it can solve. But okay, that debate is still running. I will not able to judge on what is exactly good. Right now, what my experience is, I'm dealing with only finite volume method. Now, if you see what exactly the FEM simulation does, we just understand briefly how the FEM simulation methodology works out. If you want to have any simulation, you design the geometry, you design your structures with any CAD geometry. All the softwares, what all I've discussed, they have got a CAD built-in software. So with that CAD built-in software, you can build any geometry, T-shaped channel, Y-shaped channel, cylindrical channel, whatever channel you can define. After drawing the channel, now it is important to discretize the geometry with elements, because when you discretize the elements itself, each and every element you can solve the equations. They solve the equation like governing equations like Navier-Stokes equations, continuity equations, energy equations, and so many. So first of all, after drawing a geometry, you have to discretize the geometry with elements, small elements. Here in the you have got a T-shaped channel which has discretized with these elements. So if you discretize more, the solution will be more accurate. If you discretize less, less means of course if you discretize more, the computational time will also increase. It will take more time to simulate each and every cell and give the result. If you do less, it will take less time, but the solution is less accurate. So now that will go later. Now here we are, this geometry describes with these elements, triangle elements, rectangle elements, quadrilaterals, hexahedrals, and many. And here after describing this geometry with any suitable elements, depending on the geometry concerned, and we have to define the interpolation functions, because you will solve the governing equations at different node points, and you want to know at an entire space of the element. So here interpolation functions come to rescue to know exactly what is the field presence, field average in the, suppose for any pressure or velocity average in the complete element space. So this interpolation functions and nodes are there. When interpolation functions work on these fields, they will derive the algebraic equations. These algebraic equations, now your governing equations are converted to integral equations or converted to algebraic equations. Now you can solve it easily. And that's the reason why these discretization methods have come up very widely. Why? Because you cannot solve any analytical methods analytically at every point. So discretization methods will solve at some spaces and give an approximation of the result. So for analytical absence, giving the discretization methods like FEM and FEM a great boon. And when you combine all the these algebraic equations, you find the global solution, global conservation equation that gives the results of your geometry. So just to brief you, what is exactly a node is? A node is a specific point, because in the last point last slide shown what is a node. At node, your governing equation gets solved. And a node is a specific point in the finite element at which the value of the field variable is to be explicitly calculated. That is why if you want to calculate pressure, if you have known pressure, if you want to calculate velocity, that you can evaluate. After finding at each and every node with initial values, now this interpolation functions will do the job of finding this field value, average value inside the element, the triangle element, hexahedral element, quadrilateral, anyway. Okay, this is a 3-node example. If element contains 3 nodes, you will define by this simple equations, algebraic equation, where n1 are the nodes and 5 are the fields. Now to solve this discretization equations, FEM employs this Galerkin weighted residual method to solve this integral formulation of governing equations like continuity equation, Navier-Stokes equations, and energy equations. This Galerkin weighted residual method is very popular, and you can see any books like CFD books written by, famous book is Spalding and Patankar. If you refer the book, this Galerkin method is explained very beautifully, and you can understand that. So you can understand the essence of the discretization, how it is working, how the mathematics is playing a great role in understanding the fluid dynamics. And Galerkin method, in brief, it introduces error. First of all, in brief, if I just tell you, it introduces error into the problem. If you want to solve any problem so you write a mathematical equation into the that error has to be minimized with the help of this basis functions, that weighted functions. So that weighted functions will reduce the error and give the approximate solution for that one. So okay, that's a brief thing. I don't hope that you will get from these words, but I recommend you to refer this Spalding and Patankar for a good explanation on this method, so you can have a good understanding how the method of FEM is really working. So now this FEM is widely employed. Why? Because it is an old method introduced in the 1950s, and it is able to solve the complex geometries like aerodynamic problems, very structural interactions, very large geometries with ease. Why? Because it is conserving all the equations at last. It's not conserving at every point, so the computational time is very less. So it will run the simulation, any large geometry, any big geometry in very less time. So it has got that advantage compared to FEM that I will introduce in the next slide. Now this FEM method here, FEM, this finite volume method, it is also the same. Whatever the geometry you want to do, that you will build the geometry in any software with the help of CAD tools. You will build the geometry. After that, you will discretize that with any element, the same elements, triangle elements and all like this here. But only thing is you define these nodes at the center of the cell. In the case of this finite element method, you define the nodes at the intersections, mostly at the intersections, not at the center point. But FEM method allows to place the node at the center of the element or center of the volume. Here we call them as volumes. In that case of FEM, we call them as elements. Here we call as volumes, but in structure and shape they are one and the same. Only the terminology differs here. It is just a volume. In a volume, we are placing a nodal point. At this nodal point, your equations will get solved. And with the help of interpolation functions, you can able to solve in the remaining space of this domain. And here the specialty of this finite volume method is it will conserve it in every domain, in every cell. Not in the case of FEM, what it will do, it will solve the equations and global conservation will do. But FEM is such a finite thing, it will do the conservation of equations like mass flowing inside the cell, mass flowing outside is same. So the continuity equation is conserved in every cell. So the computational time required for FEM simulations is very large because of its conservation capabilities, but the solution is so accurate that way. That's the reason why people have more trust and lenience for this FEM method compared to FEM, finite element method. Okay, this will follow the staggered grid approach. This staggered grid approach having a good thing like we can solve at one node, we can solve density, at one node we can solve pressure. So with this staggered grid approach, we can solve different values, different fields at different points. So that is also a good specialty to know. Suppose if you are interested in pressure calculations at only on some part, not other part. So in that way, this will provide the interest, provide the a very good advantage in knowing only special field, in knowing only that field in that particular space of the geometry. So that the same books, Spalding and Patankar, you can learn about the FEM method there. Now, what is the criteria? Okay, this was a brief discussion of FEM and FEM. For any software package, if you use, they will introduce you, they will give you very good, beautiful results like very good color maps, color contour maps, and graphs and all. And you should not get excited with that results, but because that may be deceive you. You have to consider this all criterion before trusting your simulation solution for any fabrication if you want to do. And if it passes all this, if it passes all this, take all this criteria into consideration, then your simulation is very trusted solution. Then you can have any conclusions before going for any fabrication or anything. The criteria, and here whatever the software package I am described, so they have the time dependent or time independent transient flows and steady state flows, and also all the software will provide the boundary conditions. Boundary conditions, I mean, we can define what is the inlet, what is the outlet, and whether it is a moving wall, heated wall, dynamic mesh, that all boundary conditions, all the software packages will provide. No, without any hesitation, that every software is providing. And what all these this criterion is, I'll describe one by one very briefly. And this is conservation. Conservation is the first criteria to be met. Otherwise, if the conservation is not met, conservation of all equations which you want to run, like all the governing equations which you want to run, if the conservation of any equation is not met, then your solution is not that trustable. So this finite volume method has got good capability to it is doing this conservation at every element. So it is inherently doing the job. But for coming to this finite element method, you have to take care. You have to go for this at the end of the solution. You have to see whether all the equations got conserved or not. What all the equations you want to make simulation to run, whether they are conserved or not, that you have to see. Next, we have got accuracy. Accuracy defines how far your simulation solution is close to the exact solution. So exact solution may not be available for all the problems, but with the help of this truncation error, but people in experience can understand. With the help of this truncation error difference between the actual value and difference value, between the expected value and the actual value, if the truncation difference is very less, then your solution is more accurate. And that is accuracy we can define in that way by understanding the truncation difference if you don't know the exact solution in beforehand. Okay. Next is convergence, and convergence is another criteria where convergence of mainly people speak of in two terms. Convergence means if you increase the number of cells, refinement of cells, you will have a good solution. If you have a geometry with coarse cells, you will have a very less solution. Okay. the solution may not be that accurate. Convergence is grid independency, that all is also there. But consider the grid independency test. So we have to discretize the geometry in such a way that when you increase the number of cells, it should not change any solution by any 3%. Okay. That next is consistency. Consistency is another criteria that when simulation is running, we'll be having a graph showing that iteration versus error. The error should decrease when iteration is progressing, so that you come to know that your solution or simulation is running consistently. Otherwise, if there is any fluctuation in the error, that your discretization of geometry is containing some negative volume cells. That is, cells are very not proper. Cells, the meshing is not proper. Very unstructured mesh you have done. That's the reason why you encounter consistency. And you have to see that when simulation is running, the error should decrease constantly when iteration is progressing. And stability is when the algebraic equations are evolved after running. This algebraic equation should valid for any kind of boundary conditions like initial conditions and boundary conditions. So that's defines the stability of the problem. And economy is computational time. You can speak of this computational time, like if you increase the number of cells, the computational time will increase. But right now, hello, can you hear me? Hello, is the audience available?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just next, economy.
You are audible. Hello. Hello. हेलो हाँ बोल। क्या है हेलो फिर से आया है right? हो गया अरे 10 बार वही करते रहते हैं लोग। हाँ ये कोई काम में धंधा 13 करोड़ दे दिया मेरे को भी। हम्म में प्रोटेक्शन क्या है चेंज करके तो फिर बिल्कुल नहीं। बेसिक पावर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स बताना चाहता हूँ। तो कुछ भी करते रहते हैं यार दिन भर यही काम है इनका पागल जैसे। हाँ लोगों को और माटे क्या ले रही बेसिक इलेक्ट्रिक इंजीनियरिंग मैं बेसिक इलेक्ट्रिक इंजीनियरिंग तो रिपीटर क्या करोगे लिबरे स्विच गियर एसी कंट्रोल सिस्टम एसी कंट्रोल सिस्टम इन सब्जेक्ट्स ले रही हो ठीक है उसी को ले जा रहे हो। गियर की लैब ही नहीं चलती है वो क्या चलाएंगे बिल्कुल कहीं के वो लैब ही नहीं चलती है नहीं चलती है वो लैब ही नहीं चलती बराबर वो वेर वो दे रहे गधे कहीं के वो लैब ही नहीं चलती है बराबर हाँ
Hello, hello,
हेलो
hello.
हेलो
Yeah, you are audible, sir.
यस यस यू आर ऑडिबल
Hello, I'm connected back again. Yes, I was speaking at this governing equations for fluid dynamics, and this governing equations, what all the software, the software packages, the finite element method, finite volume method, all the software packages like ANSYS, Fluent, and COMSOL. So they will solve this all the governing equations inside these finite volumes and finite elements. Conservation of mass, conservation of momentum, and conservation of energy equations. And conservation of mass, maybe most of you are aware, it's a simple understanding of mass flowing inside a cell is equal to mass flowing outside. It should be conserved everywhere. Then only your solution will get a good result, and it should be conserved at every, while finite volume method is doing at every cell, but finite element method is doing in the whole domain, complete domain, and you will, at the end of the result, you see the conservation of mass is satisfied in all the cells. You have to wait till that stage. This conservation mass of equation, when you choose a flow of incompressible, that is density is not changing and it is time independent flow, then it reduces to divergence of velocity is equal to 0. This conservation of momentum is derived from Newton's second law, F is equal to ma, which defines what all the forces are present in the what all forces are acting on the fluid when it is in motion, it is stationary. So here there are many forces, like pressure forces are there, stress strain forces are there, like body forces. But in the case of microfluidic channels, these equations will tweak a little bit. Why? Because gravitational forces are not that omnipresent there. In the case of anyway, the stresses forces will be there, pressure forces will be there. But in the place of body forces, surface forces, capillary forces will come into picture. Now this equation what I described, this is valid for any isotropic, homogeneous, and Newtonian fluids. Next thing is the conservation of energy. This energy equation, when you want to solve any temperature related problems, that is, you want to study how a fluid is behaving under the temperature, then conservation of energy equation is being run. Otherwise, you'll if temperature is not any requirement for your simulations, you can just go with the conservation of mass and conservation of momentum equations. This conservation of energy is also derived from the first law of thermodynamics. On the motion, when you imbibe this first law of thermodynamics in the motion of the fluid, you derive this kind of equation. It is the rate of change of energy is equal to what is the heat flow inside. So it is just a balance of kinetic and internal energies in the motion of the fluid. Okay, and this all the governing equations, what all I told, governing equations like conservation of mass and energy and momentum equations, these are all derived from the Eulerian approach. Eulerian approach, I mean, so there is a control volume or control element, finite element or finite volume through which the fluid is flowing. And that is a Eulerian approach, we are solving it. The case of Lagrangian approach, where every fluid stream is followed and you will derive the equations. So that is a very complex and cumbersome. So Eulerian approach is maximum everywhere it is followed for deriving this conservation of equations or this governing equations. This by using Eulerian approach and invoking this Reynolds transport theorem, you can solve this. You can derive these governing equations if you want to solve analytically any problem. And what is the physics of fluid flows? And right now we have discussed in broad what are the governing equations which are there running the software packages. And pertaining to microfluidics, what all different parameters are there which will define how the fluid is flowing, whether it is a laminar, turbulent, whether it is the fluid is undergoing convection or diffusion, whether the fluid is undergoing disturbance or not. That these dimensionless numbers will very well define how the fluid is flowing inside the any structure in the microchannel. And this first of all, this Reynolds number. This Reynolds number is the ratio of inertial to viscous forces, and viscous forces will dominate in the microfluidic channels. And because of that, your flow is laminar, and it is defined by this equation like rho u dh. Dh is the diameter of a channel. Hydraulic dh stands for hydraulic diameter. In case of circular channels, you can straight away take the geometry diameter of the circular channels. But in the case of rectangular channels, you have to consider the hydraulic diameter, which is calculated by 2 times area into length into breadth by length plus breadth. So that is a DH form you can get anywhere from the literature. And in all the microfluidic, because the viscous forces dominate and the flows are laminar, Reynolds number range in the between 10 power minus 6 to 100. This is the maximum range over which the fluid flows occur in any kind of microstructure geometry, any other lab on a chip device or any microfluidic geometry. Another number of equal importance similar to that of Reynolds number is Peclet number, PE shortly, and Strouhal number. And Peclet number will define the convection to diffusion ratio. This will define the convection to diffusion ratio. And here in the case of laminar flows, diffusion will be dominant because our velocities are very small, and only with the help of diffusion only we can have the mixing of two fluids. So the diffusion will dominate in the case of this microfluidic channels. Peclet number is defined by UL by D, and another dimension is number is Strouhal number, which is disturbance and frequency to the length of the mixing disturbance and frequency into length of mixing plane by velocity. So if you want to have any kind of disturbance, like if especially this is valid for all kinds of active micromixers where you introduce some kind of active source for mixing of two fluids. In that case, you will be putting some disturbance, some frequency of disturbance. So this Strouhal number is important when you are having disturbance in flows. When you are imparting any disturbance like rotation or any linear motion, vibration motion, the Strouhal motion is important. Next, understanding the theoretical understanding of fluid flows. Before I understand what are the numbers which will define the fluid flow, how exactly a fluid flow inside the microfluidic channel, that we'll understand theoretically. And this is a simple understanding. This figure schematic will represent how the fluid is flowing inside. Okay, and consider a steady state laminar and incompressible fluid flow in microchannels. And steady state, I mean, is time independent and it's a laminar and incompressible flow. Now the Navier-Stokes equations, in this case of conditions, the Navier-Stokes equation reduces to a momentum equation, which is also called as a Poisson's equation. And here no slip condition is, we have chosen the no slip condition at the walls. No slip condition, I mean in simple, that is any fluid layer touches the wall. So the fluid isn't constant, it is stationary. The wall is stationary. Where the fluid layer touches the wall, the immediate fluid layer is also in stationary with that of the wall. So the velocity near about the wall is very less. Velocity of the fluid stream near about the wall is very less. So that is there. And when you put any kind of fluid inside any microchannel, and first of all it will undergo some pressure forces. So it will undergo some pressure forces and also some viscous forces of the fluid. So these viscous forces and pressure forces, what happens? It will drive the fluid, and after some distance of LE, a boundary layer will form. This fully developed flow will form. In the fully developed flow, what happens that maximum at the center, the velocity is maximum, at the walls it is 0 because of no slip condition. So in order to achieve this kind of parabolic velocity profile inside the microchannel, it has to travel a distance of LE, which is calculated by D times 0.06 times Reynolds number. So this laminar velocity profile can be described by this equation, where capital R is the diameter of the channel and small r is the length from the center to the wall. Okay. So for any fluid entering the channel of any dimension, so it will take a length of this much, D into 0.06 times Reynolds number, to achieve a fully developed flow. Next, I'll consider one simulation example in ANSYS Fluent, which I've done during my doctoral studies. So in this, here I'll show what simulations are playing a great role in understanding the microfluidic, this micromixers. Here the simulation was taken the task to understand where the rotor to be placed in this chamber, so that which will have efficient mixing of two fluids entering from the two inlets. Now this considering the geometry of this design, there is a chamber, two inlets are connected to it, and there is an outlet which is of 3 mm. These inlets are all 3 mm in length and a length of a diameter of 500 microns. This is a chamber which is of height 3 mm and a diameter of 4 mm. Now the rotor is placed at top here in the figure, but I want to, from simulations, I want to know when the rotor is placed in this micro mixer at different positions, what mixing will happen, what is the mixing efficiency, what is the quality of mixing when we place a mixer, this rotor at different positions. Now this geometry has been solved in Gambit. This ANSYS Fluent has got a Gambit which is a pre-process. That is, you can build the geometry. That is, you can, with the help of CAD tools in Gambit, you can draw this geometry, complete geometry in the same way what I am describing. So after drawing the geometry and you define the rotor position, everything, and you mesh this geometry. Discretize the cells, tetrahedral cells. Next, after meshing and everything, now you will transfer the geometry to your Fluent. There is a post-processor. Okay, now these are the conditions which I have employed for doing the simulation of this micro mixer, which is micro mixer in which this rotor is rotating. Rotor is rotating at different positions. I have taken at different positions. Okay, I'll be showing the results for exclusively for open this top position when the rotor is the top position. So geometry is constructed because I said you in the earlier slides. Now you have to discretize the geometry with cells, and you have to discretize in such a way that when you increase the number of cells, the solution should not change by more than 3%. Here I have carried out this grid independency test like convergence test. So when I increase the cells from 3 lakhs to 6 lakhs, the solution this solution was changing. So when increase from 6 lakhs to 12 lakhs, the solution is not at all changing, much more by 3%. So I have chosen this 6,55,462 cells as the optimum cells for carrying out the simulations. Now in the simulations, I have changed the rotor position. I want to know the simulation should give a conclusion for me, what exactly the way the rotor position to be placed such that the effective mixing of fluids can happen. Now these are the parameters which are employed in the simulations. Now the species I have chosen as water and ethanol, which have got similar properties. And the diffusion coefficient of these two fluids is taken as 1.2 to 10 power minus 9 meters square per second, and the mixture viscosity is taken in this way 0.002 kg per meter second, and position of rotor is defined at different positions. And boundary conditions are chosen like inlets to be velocity inlets. So through these inlets, I'm giving some velocity to the fluids to enter, and outlet is outflow, and walls are no slip. Now all flow equations are solved using the Simplex algorithm. This algorithm will solve this the continuity equation, momentum equation, and convection diffusion equations. And there is a Presto scheme is there. This scheme will do the pressure linked equation solving. Now this is a simple understanding of how the Simplex algorithm works inside this ANSYS Fluent software that I'm describing in a flow chart. So here it will start with the initial guess of pseudo velocities. These pseudo velocities are put in the pressure equation, and after that, we'll arrive at some pressure equation. These pressure equations are put in the discrete momentum equation like Navier-Stokes equations, and through that Navier-Stokes equations we solve the pressure correction equation. Again we correct the velocities. After correcting the velocities, again we solve the discrete transport equations like continuity equation, energy equations, and if this initial case and this arrived solution have very less difference between they are different very less than tolerance, it will undergo convergence. Otherwise the loop will keep on running until we get the convergence state. That is, the difference between last two states should be less than the tolerance value we defined. And so to solve the mixing efficiency is done by this formula, and where mu I is the mass fraction of the species at data point I. So I choose a separate plane inside the geometry, and that plane, suppose if I want to know what is the mixing efficiency at this point, I'll choose a plane here. On that plane, I'll choose what is the mixing of that species. Mixing a mass fraction of that species at data point I, at the data point, and as well as the average mass fraction. Then just a standard derivation formula. So with this formula, I can able to calculate what is the mixing efficiency of two liquids when they are injected. Now these are the simulation results which after running this parameters and all, these are the simulation results which will give the end result. So here, if you see there's two fluids entering into the chamber, and this you can consider one fluid as a blue and one is red. So when they are entering, they are undergoing mixing with the help of rotor, because the rotor is undergoing rotations under constant RPM. So it is, when this rotor is rotating, it is introducing, giving some vortices formation. This vortices will enable to mix the two liquids efficiently, and you are seeing the color change here. So this color representation will give a representation that color change, give a representation that liquids are completely mixed inside the domain because of this three vortices formation inside the chamber. Next is the velocity vectors. There, because of this rotor rotation inside this geometry, we can have this velocity vectors which are very turbulent. That is, they are also rotating along this one. This shows that the rotor is rotating. Velocity vectors are in swirling action. Just an confirmation of how the rotor is rotating in clockwise or anti-clockwise. That with this velocity vectors will define it. Next, after that, we just made a comparison. When a rotor is rotated at different RPMs, how the mixing efficiency will vary. So this contours will define me when it is rotating 100 RPM, 300 RPM, 500 RPM, 1000 RPM, and 1500 RPM. So as you increase the RPM from A to E, so you see there is a color change that is tending towards green. So, and the whole domain is tending to getting a different color rather than this blue and red. So this shows that mixing is influenced by the rotor rotations. When rotor is rotating at higher RPMs, it is introducing more strong vortices at the center as well as to its adjacent side. That is unable to have more quality of mixing between the two fluids. So these simulations are very handy to me to understand what RPM exactly the two fluids are mixing efficiently. So this higher RPM, higher mixing is happening. Now I have to know what is Reynolds, how this fluid mixing is affected by Reynolds number. So as you increase the Reynolds number, this is a plot showing the mixing efficiency versus Reynolds number. Here, as you increase the Reynolds number, see that your mixing efficiencies are dropping. So this drop in mixing efficiencies will occur. Why? Because when you are increasing the Reynolds number, you are increasing the velocity of the fluids. When you increase the velocity of the fluids are passing through the chamber very fast, so they are not getting enough residence time to mingle with the rotor rotations, and they are escaping very fast into the outlet. So that affects the mixing of fluids. So you can have very good efficient mixing when your Reynolds number is very slow, when the velocity is slow and RPM is very higher. Okay, so this will simple plot will enable me to know exactly what is the Reynolds number to be and what is the RPM to be, to have very good higher efficiency of mixing towards tending to 100%. Next thing is here mixing efficiency is plot against the Reynolds number when the rotor is placed at different positions, top, center, and bottom positions. When you place at different positions, as I said, this simulation results given a conclusion that when placing the rotor at top position is giving good mixing efficiencies, and that is represented here. As you increase the Reynolds number, even though your rotor is at top, the rotor is doing very good efficient mixing of two fluids entering from the inlets. Next thing is the thing. Reynolds number, I told there's two numbers, Peclet number and Strouhal number of equal importance. This Peclet number define whether the fluid is undergoing a diffusion or advection in the microchannel. So at low Reynolds number, diffusion denominating. At high Reynolds number, your Peclet number is dropping and diffusion is no more there and only advection is there. Because of advection, so what happens is this fluid is driving very fast and the mixing efficiency will drop. And Strouhal number is the same. Strouhal number is the same. The disturbance is very higher. When the disturbance is very higher, because I told in the initial slide that Strouhal number represents the disturbance with respect to the velocity. So when the disturbance is more, obviously what happens here when rotor is moving at higher RPM. When there is higher RPM, there is a higher disturbance, so liquids will mix very easily. Strouhal number defines higher RPM, higher mixing. So as you increase the Reynolds number, when you have the Strouhal, when you are increasing when you increase this RPM of this one, you can have mixing, but at higher RPMs. Next thing is this next plot is showing about velocity versus Reynolds number, because we are introducing fluids from two ends, two inlets with some velocity, predefined velocities in the range of 10 micrometers per second to 50 micrometers per second. So when you are introducing such velocity, but your rotor is also rotating in the fluids there. That rotor rotation will also impart some kind of velocity in addition to the inlet velocity. So what velocity it is imparting in addition to the inlet velocity that it is showing. So as increase this Reynolds number and increase RPM, so this rotor is also imparting more high velocity. So that fluids which are driving into the outlet is more, because it has got a combined velocity from the inlet velocity what you are given as well as the rotor velocity. Next, these are all the simulation what I'll discuss, the simulation results of an active micromixer. Next, I'll discuss about the passive micromixer simulations. Here, passive micromixer in the same way I'll define the geometry, design the geometry. This also has been done in the ANSYS Fluent software. The same way I define the geometry, draw the geometry in the Gambit, and describe this geometry with the structured elements like hexahedral elements. Here I'm taking hexahedral cells. And here I have described the geometry very thick, so very fine refinement cells has been done. Why? Because when you do fine refinement, your solution will go for more accuracy. Now, and also we have got another boundary. These boundary conditions have been defined. Velocity inlets and outlet is outflow velocity, and pressure velocity coupling is simple algorithm you have employed. The simple algorithm will run in the background of for this simulation. Discretization scheme is second order, and species are water. We have taken water at both the ends, and we are seeing how the mixing is happening. And residual monitors are placed to know the tolerance of equations when the convergence should occur. And here the simulation results are providing me giving an idea what should be the exact repetitive unit should be. How many repeated units should, when I introduce the fluid from these two inlets, and how many units should I place in order to have very good mixing of two fluids at the end. So here I started with one, next 3, 4 and all. So at the end of this fourth channel, I'm able to get very good high mixing efficiency. So this simulation will enable to know how much repetitive units of passive micromixers I should devise or should fabricate, so that at the end I'll get a very high mixing efficiency of two liquids when they are entered from two inlets. Next, okay, after the ANSYS Fluent simulations of active micromixer and passive micromixer, I will introduce to the OpenFOAM software. And as I told initially in the initial slide as the introduction, in the content slide, this OpenFOAM is one of the best open source software. And I'm sharing this Twitter page of the OpenFOAM organization. They have described, they have just announced very openly that this software is 100% free and you can use for any commercial applications, any academic applications and research applications. And only thing is, because this is released under GPL, General Public License, you can able to modify and you can able to modify it, you can able to redistribute, and it will continue forever. They are claiming that it will continue forever. It will no longer will be a commercial one. So this OpenFOAM, I told initially, has got all the capabilities of commercial software packages like ANSYS Fluent, COMSOL and all. But only thing is here it is a program based. You have to write your code, you have to describe your mathematical equations, you have to describe your scientific conditions in coding format, C++ format. Yeah, I'll describe here what it exactly is in a simple way. Now this OpenFOAM, just like all commercial softwares, it is also got as a preprocessor. That is, you can build the geometry, you can solve the geometry, and you can also visualize the results. So these all tools are present in every software. Like every software, this OpenFOAM is also containing the same software, same tools for building the geometry, solving the geometry, processing. But these all to be done through a program based. By a program based, okay. And why we are using this OpenFOAM works on this C++ language, and C++ it is one of the best object-oriented program which provides a mechanism to express this whatever complex verbal equations, mathematical equations efficiently. For example, if you want to define this partial differential equation, you can write in a simple way through this syntax here. So what is the finite volume method? Is a it has been written here. This partial differential equation is written in a simple way. Say FEM ddt rho u. So the what all terms which are mentioned in the partial differential equation has been mentioned through a syntax form in this way. So any beginner can able to understand if it is written as C, this is a code language, you can able to make out what partial differential equation is, because all the conventional, all the persons right now who are more into seeing this partial differential equation in this format. So when you want to use the open form, you should make a habit of writing this partial differential equations in this format. Suppose if I got a very good coding experience, a coding background, you can able to do all this very easily, and you can able to catch up very easily. For a non-beginner, for a person who don't have that coding background, maybe he may be a little nervous, but he'll catch up later. That is the beauty of this open form. A person just like me, I'm not that aware of the coding language, but I can able to learn very clearly in no time. So that I'll be introducing very brief here. And this software, open form software, can be downloaded from all these organizations.
முன்னாடி எல்லாத்துக்கும் ஒரு காலம் இருக்கு. முன்னாடி இந்த டைம்ல போய் யாராவது வாங்குவாங்களா?
Openform.com.
காசு நேரத்துல யாராவது வாங்குவாங்களா?
Openform.download is an organization which has launched the software, and CFT Direct is the organization which has launched this open software. All these organizations have given you for free, so you can download this from these sites which I mentioned here. Now this in the case coming to this structure of open form, this as I told, this all this you have to define in the coding language. And for any case to solve, suppose you want to solve any geometry, any simple T-shaped channel, Y-shaped channel, cylinder and micro channel, you should define the case. You should define the case in 3 folders, and 3 folders contain some files. These files are written in the C++ coding language. The files are not just like the notepad files, and this all these conditions, boundary conditions, and your algorithm is written in a coding language there. So if you open this file, you can able to know how what condition has been written. Okay, now I'll describe briefly what is there are 3 folders inside for any case. So for any, suppose if it is not any micro channel or any other channel, you can have these 3 folders in common. System directory contains the 3 files. Control dict file. This file defines how to start your simulation. What is the start time and end time? Suppose if you are doing a transient flow problem, you can define what is the start time and end time, and what is the time step, and what is an finite volume schemes are also described. That is discretization schemes, what I'll discuss in this Presto and all. Discretization schemes you can define there, and here you can write your own. If there is not in the library of open form, you can write your own equations with the help of the coding language, and you can define your own things. And finite volume solution, this finite volume solution folder define you what is the algorithm. Simple algorithm, simplex algorithm, piezo algorithm. Like that, there are 3 to 4 algorithms like to solve the governing equations. So that you have to define in the finite volume solution. And one more is a constant directory. Another thing is a constant directory which will contain this mesh file, this geometry files. This directory, this folder will contain what is the geometry, how the geometry is made, and how the meshing was made. Suppose this here in the case of open form, you can draw your geometry with. You can build the geometry through coding base. Otherwise, you can import the geometry from any other free CAD software like Salome or any other free CAD geometry that you can do and import into. Suppose if you are not that familiar to go with this coding based development of any building of any geometry, you can build that geometry in any free CAD software and import to OpenFOAM. So that will be represented in the constant directory. Another thing is time directory, or the 0 folder I can call. Initial, you can define the initial values, and you can define the field values, pressure value and velocity values. And this is the basic structure of this OpenFOAM cases. System file is there. System file contains control dict, finite volume schemes, and finite volume solution. This is the hierarchy. This is a constant where you define the property, where you define these polymesh. Polymesh contain this mesh properties or geometry properties. Or geometry properties are defined inside. And time directory, as I told, time directory contains the velocity boundary conditions files. You can define what is at what velocity the fluid to be flown in the geometry by U and P terms. U for velocity and P for pressure, and also the at what is the initial values that you can define. Okay, with this basic understanding of open form structure and 3 files, and we'll move to simulation of a microchannel flow in an open form. Okay, and here I just told is a pre-processing like just any other software. This is an open form. You can also build this geometry, the same geometry with this coding base that you can define the vertices, and with this you can build this geometry. But as I told, the every beginner has a problem in building the geometry. That's the reason you can download this Salome software, which is also an open source, and you can build this geometry and you can mesh this geometry. So build this geometry and mesh this geometry and import to the Fluent. Now in this case, in the demonstration, I have done the same. I have built the geometry in the Fluent and done the meshing in the Salome software. And this dimensions of this channel are diameter is 100 micrometers and length is 10
help
mm.
பண்ணுங்கடா.
And here, what are the boundary conditions? These boundary conditions I will define in the time directory. So pressure boundary conditions. So now I have considered this geometry of cylindrical microchannel, which is this is the inlet, and this from this point the liquid exists, and these are the walls. Top and bottom are the walls. And the liquid is being injected from this inlet. Now this liquid is injected with a pressure of 20.776 pascals. Okay, and this is a fixed value. Now outlet, we have outlet is also a fixed value here because I have taken atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure I am considering as 0 because atmospheric pressure is also here the same. So atmospheric pressure is same, so I am considering that the pressure at outlet is 0. And walls are 0 gradient. 0 gradient, I mean there is no change in the pressure value at the walls. Velocity boundary conditions are also the same. So this velocity boundary conditions, I define the inlet as pressure inlet velocity. So the liquid will drive with the help of pressure. What pressure you are imparting? So this will drive with the. So I will define the condition like pressure inlet velocity. So there are many boundary conditions which all commercial softwares are providing. So that all boundary conditions you can define. You can define inlet boundary condition as velocity inlet, velocity outlets, or velocity outlet, velocity outlet, or outflow conditions. Here, since I am understanding, I want to know how the fluid is entering with the help of pressure. The pressure is defined, and the fluid should drive with the pressure. So that velocity will be imparted by the pressure. So I have taken the velocity as 0 here, and outlet is 0 gradient, and walls has no slip. No slip, I mean at the walls the velocity of the fluid is 0. This pressure boundary condition and velocity boundary conditions are defined in the pressure and velocity boundary time directory folder. There are P and U files will be there. This notepad files. This notepad files will place in the 0 folder. And this is the system directory. System directory contain, I told you it contains a control dict file as well as a finite volume schemes file and the finite volume solution file. This in the control dict file you can able to know, you can able to decide at what time the simulation should start, and you can define the start time and end time and also the time steps. And also the finite volume schemes. These are the schemes you have seen in one of the Navier-Stokes equations. There are gradient terms, there are the divergence terms, and there are Laplacian terms. How to solve that one you can define here. There are many ways, but Gauss linear method. There are other methods to solve that. But you can define your own things. But here in the case of open form, where you have got a very transparency how the coding is, how the mathematics are defined inside. But in the case of commercial software, everything is a black box, and only you have the space to provide the just a parameter there. If you want parameter to provide to choose the things, but in the open form, it is very open skeleton that you understand where the what exactly the equation is being solved by what method and all. Divergence schemes are solved by what Gauss linear method or different method. That is very transparent in the case of open form. And a person who has got a strong mathematical background and coding background is unable to do it very efficiently, and he can able to come up with a new kind of simulations of his own. So the finite volume solution, you can define what algorithm should run for the simulation to run, like piezo algorithm, simple algorithm, simplex algorithm. Now to appreciate the open form, first of all, why I'm taking the very simple geometry? Why? Because there is an analytical solution present for this simulation, for this geometry. So analytical solution I can derive by this Hagen-Poiseuille equation. By this Hagen-Poiseuille equation, I can able to know what is the maximum velocity inside inside the channel. Maximum velocity will occur, as you saw in any microfluidic channel, maximum velocity will occur at the center. So because there is a parabolic velocity profile, so maximum velocity occurs at the center. So by this Hagen-Poiseuille equation, I can able to know what is the theoretical I can do. Any simulation, without any simulation, theoretical I can know, analytically I can know what is the maximum velocity. So being known, I know all these values. Viscosity of the fluid I know, length of the channel I know, diameter I know. So there is a difference because I'm putting with input pressure is at 20.776 pascals and at 0 pascals of pressure output pressure. So taking the delta P, I can able to arrive at this U average, which is simple calculation, and U maximum is 2 times of average. So this U maximum will be at the center. So whether this is represented in the simulation of open form, that is, if you are able to replicate this analytical value in the open form simulation, what all conditions you have taken to simulate, that is, these are all the schemes, Gauss linear schemes, what all the conditions you have taken, pressure conditions, inlet conditions, what all you have defined, that is making sense for you because it is validating with the analytical solution. The next reference is only the analytical solution which is present. So your solution has got very good validation when you refer with any standard method like analytical solution. So for a beginner, I suggest you to draw a simple geometries in this way and solve the analytical solution by any equation, by this Hagen-Poiseuille equation, other equations, and see whether the parameter what you are getting is represented in the open form simulation. So if that number is almost approaching near, then you are at your best because you have put a very good conditions, you are choosing the very right conditions. Next, I will show you how to run the open form here. So considering the time considerations, I cannot run online. So what I've done is I've taken the screenshots of the open form here, which is very simple in operation. And you can have to any YouTube, and they will define you how open form to be for a beginner, how it should be, how to run. So similarly, I'm explaining the same way. Now, when you download from any of the organizations, there is an icon. Will be an icon, desktop icon. When you click on that one, the open form window will show in this way. And next, you have to create a directory because you have to create the files. 3 folders you have to create. So in the run directory, what you do is you create the folder, microchannel folder. This microchannel folder will contain your 0 file, constant file, time directory file, constant file, and as well as the system directory file. So that is it. When you initialize the geometry, when you initialize this open form icon, the window comes up in this way. Immediately start the directory cd $form_run. So this will create the run directory. Okay. So run directory, what I'm doing, ls. ls is a command which will show list the contents. ls is a command show list the contents. When you type ls, it will show the content. What are the list of the contents in the run channel? Now I have only one folder, that is microchannel. Now I want to know what all the folders are present in the list. In the list. So what I'll do, I'll do the same. I will open the directory of cd microchannel again and put the ls command. When they put the ls command, list the command, to list out what all the folders. 0, the constant. This is a geometry file. This is the system file. This microchannel.unv is the file which I've imported from the Salome software, which is also an open source software which I have designed as well as modeled. That modeled geometry I've imported into this folder. So that's the reason why you are seeing this one. So now your microchannel folder is containing 0, constant, microchannel UNV, and system. Now here you have to convert this to open form language, this geometry. So because you have designed the geometry and you have also meshed the geometry. Now with the help of this small command, you can able to convert that Salome created geometry into a open form understandable geometry. This ideas UNV to form, convert that UNV file to a form file, open form readable file. So when you click the enter, you will see this kind of window. So it is running and it is seeing all this one. What is the inlet and what is the outlet? What are the walls? Because when you when you construct the geometry, you have to define what is the inlet and what is the outlet. What are the walls? Nothing but these are the boundary conditions there. These are the meshes. Meshes at the boundary condition, at the boundaries. Now, because since Salome software is into making into meters, and OpenFOAM is also read the geometries in meters, so it is my first priority to convert the geometry into millimeters. Millimeters contain millimeters content to micrometer scale is there. So I'm converting from transform with this command transform point scale to with 0.001, that is from meters to millimeter. 1 meter is equal to 1000 millimeters. So you are converting this way. That is, you are scaling down the geometry to a millimeter scale by this simple command. Now next, after this scaling down the command, you have to check your mesh, because you have to know whether what your geometry meshed has got very good meshing or not. Because if mesh contains very non negative volume cells, it will create a problem in the simulation. Why? Because this negative volume cells will not able to converge the equations. You will not enable to conserve the equations, governing equations, and so you have to end up with a kind of disturbed solution. So checking mesh is very vital. And after that, if you say meshing is okay, that is will define what are the how the cells are defined inside the how the cells are how the discretization has been done inside the geometry. If this falls okay, then OpenFOAM will take into consideration for further simulation. Now this prior checking has been done. You have created the geometry in the Salome and imported, and you have transformed to OpenFOAM readable format. And you have scaled down the geometry. You have checked the mesh. After that, you have to run the solver. Now, since I have in the geometry what I've chosen, this in this kind of geometry, I've chosen this incompressible flow. Water I am taking, because water is incompressible, density will not vary. So I've taken the and I've taken time dependent flow. So this icofoam solver will solve the incompressible fluid flow solve, incompressible transient flow, laminar flow solver. So this icofoam, when you see the tutorials of anything, it will describe this icofoam will solve the for any, if you want to solve the simulation for any incompressible fluid flow, you can do this. After doing this icofoam, the now solution will run in the background as well as in the window itself. You can see whether it converged or not, depending on the time step. And now that is after running the simulations, now you have to see the Parafoam. Parafoam is a visualization software, because this OpenFOAM has got a good interlink with the visualization software. This is also an OpenFOAM software, open source GUI application. When you just start this command Parafoam, and it will enable to know this open this window, Paraview window, which is also an open source software I told. So you can see the geometry which has been simulated here. Okay. And it has been simulated, and the last result I will show. This is the velocity. This is a velocity which is showing here. At center, the maximum velocity is 0.001576. And what is the analytical solution? Your analytical solution reading is 1.352 millimeters per second. So you are arriving at the maximum velocity at the center, because this outlet here you are showing the color map as red. So you can able to see this maximum velocity at the center is 0.001, that is 1.5 millimeters per second. It is almost near to your maximum velocity theoretical calculated value. So what all conditions you have chosen for this OpenFOAM simulation is right. So that's the reason why I've taken this small geometry for your understanding, for a demonstration, so that you can have an understanding of analytical solution as well as the OpenFOAM simulated solution. So it is in better matching with that theoretical value. Now you have a confidence that OpenFOAM simulation and conditions you have chosen are working fine and at your best. So I think because we have a disturbed timing, I hope I don't think many audience will be there. But anyway, I'm ending the session. I have to rush this because of the time, and I'm apologizing, and I'm thanking you all. Tomorrow we'll meet again the other lecture. I'll discuss with you, and I'm ending the session with thank you. And if you have any questions, you can contact me. If you have time, well and good. Otherwise, you can contact me on my email. So you can put your questions on my email regarding OpenFOAM and all. I am open to discuss any problem that you want to have, any discussions that I'm ready to discuss with you to enable to know you about OpenFOAM and other softwares, commercial softwares. Thank you.
I think you have left the meeting. Let me check your tomorrow's presentation now.
लास्ट काय आहे त्यांचं तर काय आहे
म्हणून ग्राडी म्हणजे काय झालं डेट मला केले परत सांग.
लास्ट काय आहे त्यांचं तर काय आहे
चैट में लोगों का मैसेज भी आया नाइस प्रेजेंटेशन नाइस सेशन
किती लोग एक्चुअली
एक्चुअली थे 55 56 क्योंकि हमारा पहले ब्रेक हुआ ना तो बहुत बस जो है शायद
फिर से प्रॉब्लम है
I think we will stop now. Hello. We will stop the meeting now and we will meet again tomorrow at 9:30. So I'm sorry you had to work really hard today. You had to work really hard today. We had 4 sessions and I am very sorry for that. Tomorrow we will meet at 9:30 again for next lecture by Dr. Naresh Venturthi. So good evening to all of you and see you tomorrow. Bye.